3 spine-chilling true thunderstorm tales, sinister secrets revealed in haunted downpours. Thunder rumbled like an angry creature, sending shivers down Sarah's spine as she sat in her small Midwestern home, the old foundation creaking under the weight of the storm. Rain hammered the roof in chaotic bursts, each drop a reminder of the despair that threatened to drown them. Inside, the musty scent of the house mingled with that thick, earthy aroma only a thunderstorm could bring. Jake and Lily, giggling and dodging each other's outstretched arms, reveled in the wild dance of the storm, their laughter almost drowning out the symphony of nature's fury outside. "Did you hear about the Rain Man?" whispered Jake, eyes wide like saucers. "Legend said he came for the lost during downpours like this." Outside, shadows lurked between the trees, just out of reach. Sarah's heart quickened at a frantic call from her mother, warning her about shadowy figures spotted in the neighborhood after dark. "You have to be careful, Sarah," her mother urged, voice trembling. She tried to reassure her, but dread filled her, anxious thoughts curled tightly in her gut. Flickering lights cast eerie shadows across the room, and the howling wind sounded like a banshee lament, chasing sanity from her thoughts. Peeking through the window, she caught a fleeting glimpse of movement. Something dark lingered, just past the edge of the yard, sending an icy grip around her throat. She shut the curtains tight, fear pressing against her ribcage. The town's police? Useless, she thought. With a string of unsolved disappearances shrouding their once close community, no one seemed to care. Neighborhood watch turned into neighboring horror, the comfort of community was replaced by whispered caution. Panic sliced through her as she huddled her children close and began revealing the town's terrifying legend. "Remember the Smiths? Their boy vanished, just like that," she whispered, forcing bravado into her voice. The rumble of thunder echoed ominously, each bang resonating like a hard reminder of their fragile safety. Rain pounded like fists against the window, as if beckoning them into the storm's arms. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently, plunging them into pitch darkness. A crash outside sent them skittering back, hearts racing, breaths hitched. The very world around them felt charged, electric with anticipation. Sarah's hands trembled as she dared to peek outside once again. And there it was, a figure stood still at the edge of the woods, backlit by jagged forks of lightning. Her heart stopped, icy dread slithering down her spine. It couldn't be. Was it the Rain Man? The thought clenched her stomach. A town turned its back on secrets, and now they threatened to swallow Sarah whole. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The storm swelled and rolled like a beast unleashed, pushing against the very walls of her sanctuary. Each crack of thunder felt like a talon scraping against the fabric of her reality. Memories clawed at the edges of her mind, stories of betrayal, loss, and those badged with trust who let the darkness fester. She tucked Jake and Lily closer, her hands shaking. She needed to escape, she had to protect them. But outside, the storm became alive with more than just rain. It whispered, it beckoned, almost growled for them to come out and play. As the wind howled, Sarah knew they were living in a tale darker than any legend. The Rain Man was real, and the thunder heralded a reckoning. The storm was thickening, tightening its grip, and as the shadows danced closer, Sarah's thoughts raced. Would they survive the night, or would the Rain Man claim them as his next victims? The darkness swallowed them whole. The heartbeat of the storm pulsed in rhythm with Sarah's racing thoughts. Each clap of thunder clawed at her sanity, an unrelenting reminder of the figure lurking just beyond the threshold of her home. She slowly turned to her children, panic etched in her face. Jake's giggles faded into an anxious whisper, and Lily clung to her side, eyes wide with fright. "Mom," Jake whispered, "what's out there?" His voice trembled, pulling her from her spiraling fear. I don't know," Sarah admitted. The truth settled like a weight in her chest. She knew it couldn't be a deer or raccoon. It was something more. Stepping back toward the window felt like walking into the mouth of a beast. She steadied her breath, urging herself to be brave, to be a mother. Another crash outside thundered through the air, shaking the glass. It sounded closer this time. She could almost feel the vibrations within her bones, the sense of something solid moving outside. "Stay close," she commanded, hoping her voice carried authority and grounded her fear. The wind roared again, rattling the shutters as if attempting to be let in, and just then, a small flash of lightning illuminated the figure again. It was staring right at them. A dark silhouette with no discernible features. Her heart constricted painfully. What twisted fate had led them here, entrapped by the furious elements and lurking shadows? The legends were turning tangible, and all she had to protect her and her children were flimsy walls and her resolve. "Let us get away from the windows," she whispered harshly, edging them into the kitchen. Closer to the back door, away from the darkness that clung to the streetlights like a shroud. The kitchen felt stifling, the air thick with fear. She grabbed a heavy frying pan. Its cold metal offered a sense of security, even if momentary. "Mama?" Lily asked, and her small voice cut through the high-pitched whistling of the wind. "Will the Rain Man take us?" "No," Sarah declared fiercely. "He won't take us. You hear me? We're safe." But deep down, a voice of doubt answered, envying those who had vanished, those whose cries were lost to the resounding storm. As the minutes dragged on, the children whispered to each other to comfort themselves, rhythmic like a chant against the encroaching dread. Each second felt like an hour, each burst of wind swiping her heart closer to abyssal despair. Then she heard it. A soft patter, beneath the cacophony. It grew louder, mismatched with the pouring rain. A scratching, clawing sound against the wooden door. Her breath hitched. "What is that?" she asked, gripping the frying pan tightly. The sound intensified, now accompanied by soft murmurs, almost like cries. Not from the children, but from somewhere else. Sarah's gut twisted. "Stay here," she commanded, adrenaline pumping. She could barely feel her feet as she cautiously moved toward the door. The banshee wail of the wind seemed to quiet as if even nature itself held its breath. She reached for the doorknob, heart racing in anticipation of what lay beyond. Just as she did, she heard a voice low, raspy, calling her softly, barely above a whisper. "Sarah, let me in." It shouldn't know her name. She froze. Terror washed over her, the voice chilled her blood, familiar yet twisted like a distant echo. Fingers shaking, she turned the knob, feeling as if she'd unlocked more than just a door, but opened a part of herself she'd hoped to hide. What awaited her on the other side, beckoning sweetly through the chaos? The storm raged on, but the voice grew louder, relentless, and as she looked into the swirling darkness beyond, she could only wonder, was it another victim, or the Rain Man himself? What she didn't know is that the storm had only just begun to reveal its true horrors. The knob twisted slowly under her trembling grasp. Just as the door cracked open, a gust of wind surged into the house, a biting chill that cut to her bones. It whipped around her, carrying the scent of damp earth mixed with something else, something foul and rotten. "Mom!" Lily's voice pierced through the suffocating atmosphere. The urgency made Sarah slam the door shut again. Locking it felt like a feeble promise of safety, but something deep within her echoed a warning. Maybe it wasn't enough. "What did you see, Mama?" Jake's eyes were round, reflecting the low flicker of the kitchen light. Every shadow in the room seemed to shift unnaturally, morphing into dark shapes that once again invaded her mind with old nightmares. "I didn't see anything," she lied. The scratch against the door continued, a low, rasping insistence from the outside. Her heart thudded against her ribcage, pounding like a drum announcing their fate. The air thickened, laden with tension, and a sound reached her ears amidst the chaos. Each scrape felt deliberate, as if something was attempting to pry its way inside. Sarah's grip tightened on the frying pan. How could something this menacing exist just outside? "Stay quiet," she hushed them, but her own voice trembled, betraying her fear. The chanting whispers resumed, a cacophony of voices swelling louder, mingling with the haunting echoes of thunder. "Sarah, let me in." The voice seeped in again, slithering into the air like poison. Panic clawed at her throat. The familiarity haunted her just like the tales her grandmother told. The Rain Man wasn't just a myth. He hunted in storms, knocking at doors. With a sudden urgency, Sarah raced toward the living room where her old laptop rested. They needed to call for help. She couldn't remain isolated in the choking dark. The power flickered as she approached, teasing the illusion of safety, but she pressed on, reaching for it, desperately praying it would still have signal. Lily and Jake stayed in the kitchen's dim light, shadows painting their small figures against the wall. Trembling, Sarah tapped the keyboard, her heart sinking as the screen blinked to life, revealing a no-signal message. "No, no, no," she whispered, frustration pounding through her like the storm outside. The scratching morphed into a pounding. It resonated against the door, each bang a demand, shaking the very foundation of their home. The lights flickered violently, and then blackness. In that suffocating dark, a strangled cry echoed. Not from the children. Panic seized her. "Jake! Lily! Mom!" Jake shouted, and Sarah sprinted back toward the kitchen, dread clawing at her insides. Just as she reached the door, a terrible crash sounded from beyond. The door splintered, a flurry of rain and wind bursting into the house. The children screamed. They were pulled backward like a force of nature was ascending upon them. "Get behind me!" Sarah roared, brandishing the frying pan, but the tempest was against her. A figure loomed in the doorway, the silhouette blotted out the rest of the storm. Its presence filled the frame of the doorway, tall and menacing, with a face that flickered in the flashes of lightning. "Sarah," it rasped, and eyes glowed like angry coals. "I've come for you. Let me in." She could not move, fear paralyzing her, but then a primal instinct ignited within her. They couldn't stay. "Run!" she shouted, shoving the children toward the back door. As they scrambled away, she confronted the darkness, breathless, heart racing not only for their safety but to confront whatever horror had come to claim them. Even as she made her decision, the storm howled around them, and doubt crept in. Was escape possible? Would the Rain Man let them leave? And with every heartbeat, the figure grew closer, its shadows wrapping around the room, whispering secrets meant only for her. What would the Rain Man offer her if she dared to listen? The children dashed for the back door, their small feet pounding against the wooden floors, echoing like thunder in Sarah's chest. She could hear the Rain Man's raspy voice slicing through the wind, drawing ever closer. "Sarah, Sarah!" It was a sinister lullaby, luring and taunting her. She couldn't let him in. "Faster!" she urged, her voice barely piercing the noise of the storm. Jake glanced back, terror etched across his face, while Lily's wide eyes shimmered with unshed tears. They stumbled into the backyard, the rain crashing down around them like nails. The light from the house flickered in and out, a heartbeat struggling to survive. For a moment, Sarah could see the figure framed in the doorway, its outline defined by the furious flashes of lightning, arms stretched wide as if ready to embrace the darkness. "Stay close!" she shouted, her own voice trembling against the wind. There was no plan, no place to go. The world outside felt as hostile as the monster within, every shadow a potential threat. The trees swayed ominously, their gnarled branches twisting in shapes like grasping hands. The only option was to run, to put distance between them and the malevolent presence. "To the neighbor's," she commanded, breathless. They turned toward the fence, leaping over the rotting wood. Each splash of water sent icy shocks up their legs, but the cold was nothing compared to the terror surging through them. Just as Sarah landed on the other side, a visceral scream erupted from the house behind them, a sound that clawed at her insides. It echoed inside her head, mixed with Jake's cry as he tumbled in the mud, losing precious seconds. She swung back, reaching for him, but dread held her in place. Time became warped under the relentless storm, each second stretched thin as if the very air conspired against them. "Get up!" Sarah yelled, aching to snatch him from the wet earth. Just beyond the threshold of the house, the Rain Man's shadow swelled, unfurling like smoke. It pushed past the doorframe, an unholy grin splitting its face, an impossibly wide maw that devoured the light. "Sarah!" The urgency in Jake's voice snapped her back to reality. With a surge of strength, Sarah pulled him up. "Run! Now!" They stumbled through the neighbor's yard, practically blind in the downpour. The storm was alive, breathing down their necks, while the whispers echoed around them. Each step felt like a betrayal of their safety. The quicker they ran, the more they felt the intangible fingers of the Rain Man reaching out for them. Suddenly, the wind shifted direction, howling and shrieking as if mocking their desperate escape. Sarah whipped around, half expecting to see the figure pursuing them, but nothing stood out in the swirling darkness. They pressed on, hearts racing, eyes darting between every flicker of lightning that cut through the gloom. They crossed into the neighbor's porch just as the thunder cracked, the sound rolling like a sinister drumbeat. The door was locked, and panic hit her again. "Help! Please!" She banged on the door, pleading for anyone inside to answer. Silence hung heavy. But just as despair threatened to tether her to the ground, she heard movement, shuffling from within. But instead of relief, dread pooled in her stomach. What if it was the Rain Man, playing games to lure her into his trap? "Don't let him in!" Jake cried, eyes wide with fear. Sarah's heart sank. The pulsing urgency of the storm mixed with her racing thoughts. Who were they really asking for? With a final glance back into the dark, Sarah was struck by a thought as chilling as the wind. What if the Rain Man had already entered through the back door, sealed away in the shadows, just waiting for her to open the door? The lock finally clicked, the door cracked open slightly. The silhouette inside was just as terrifying as the storm outside. "Who's there?" A voice rasped from the dark. Then a shadow pushed through the creak of the door, and behind it, a pair of glowing eyes emerged. The real horror wasn't in how far they'd run, but what awaited them on the other side. The door swung open wider, revealing a face that should have brought relief but instead chilled Sarah to her core. It was a woman, hair disheveled and face pale, eyes wide with a terror that mirrored her own. "You shouldn't be out here," she gasped, frantically looking behind them into the rain. "You have to get inside now." Jake tugged at Sarah's sleeve, heart pounding in sync with the thunder. What if she's one of them? He whispered, fear evident in his voice. Barely able to hear him over the roar of the storm, Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine. "Please, you have to trust me." The neighbor's voice was raw, desperation threading each word. "He's coming." Who? Who's coming? Sarah pressed, the storm raging against her mind, pulling her thoughts apart. "Lock the door. You have to lock the door." The urgency screamed through the howling winds. Suddenly, a clash of thunder erupted, and the lights in the porch flickered, giving them a brief glimpse of the Rain Man's silhouette at the end of the yard, dark as ink, drenched in rain. The eyes glowed like two malevolent stars, shining through the tempest, hungry for their fear. "Inside, now." Sarah pushed Jake and Lily forward, her heart hammering against her ribs as she followed them through the threshold. The coldness of the room wrapped around them like a shroud. She slammed the door shut, locking it with trembling hands. "Did he see you?" The woman's voice was sharp, a lifeline tossed into the sea of chaos. "I don't know," Sarah breathed, looking over her shoulder. A deep silence settled over them, punctuated only by the heavy patter of rain against the roof. The woman stared at her, eyes widening in horror. "He has a way of knowing. You must hide." "Hide?" Jake squeaked, eyes flicking toward the windows. "It's the only chance we have," the woman insisted, her composure cracking as a stirring noise erupted outside, a sound like nails scratching down the walls of their sanctuary. "Over here." Sarah pointed to a narrow closet as Lily clutched her hand. They rushed to cram themselves inside, squeezing against the musty coats that hung lifelessly above them. Tension hung thick in the air, each drop of rain serving as a countdown. The scratching grew louder as whatever was outside shuffled closer, hollering in the wind. "Please, please," Sarah whimpered, pressed against Lily, feeling her sister's small frame shake. Suddenly, a monstrous thud resonated from the door, the house shuddering as if groaning under its weight. A piercing scream echoed through the storm, a voice that wasn't their own. The neighboring woman's face turned ghostly pale, eyes frozen in fear. "No, no," she whispered, staring at the door as if entranced. "Shoo, it's okay," Sarah hushed her, though her own heart raced wildly. The pounding continued, relentless, drowning out even the storm's rage. Just when Sarah thought they might be spared, the door shuddered violently, rattling the frame as if the Rain Man sought to burst through. Then, a bone-chilling silence followed. It felt unnatural, a stark contrast to the cacophony they had just endured. "Is it gone?" Jake breathed in a whisper, lips trembling. Just as Sarah was about to answer, a new sound emerged. A low, rasping laugh that slithered through the air, curling around them like smoke. It reverberated in her mind, echoing the malevolence of the Rain Man's call. "That's not right," Lily whimpered, eyes wide. "Stay still, stay quiet," Sarah urged through clenched teeth. A shadow loomed outside the door, blocking any light, speakers of dread whispering secrets of despair. In that deafening quiet, Sarah's pulse took on a dreadful rhythm. What sinister games was the Rain Man playing? Then, the voice, now clearer through the stillness, taunted them. "I'm just here to play." They had found their refuge, but had it only turned into a pocket of deeper horror? As the first cracks of thunder split the sky once more, the scratching resumed, and Sarah knew they were far from safe, just as the laughter grew louder. The closet felt like a tomb, constricting and dark. Sarah held her breath, every heartbeat echoing like thunder in her ears. The laughter outside slithered through the door, a sickening reminder that they were not alone. It was coming from everywhere but nowhere, a taunt embedded in the storm. "Shush," she whispered, pressing a finger to her lips. Lily's grip tightened around her wrist, her small body trembling. Jake's face was pale, and Sarah wished she could tell him everything would be okay. But deep down, she felt the chill of hopelessness creeping in. The neighbor woman was whispering frantically to herself, her panic infectious. "He knows, he sees you." Her eyes darted around, searching the shadows of the closet. For a moment, Sarah felt the walls closing in. The dark felt alive, as if it were straining to swallow them whole. Suddenly, the rain pattered faster, like 1,000 tiny hands hammering against the roof. The scratching shifted, sounding now more like clawing. A low growl mixed with the laughter that crept closer. "Can't we leave?" Jake squeaked, his voice rising in pitch, fear spilling over. "Not yet," Sarah hissed. The air was thick with dread, the silence in between shifts too loud. They couldn't risk making a sound, especially when the monster outside was lurking. The door rattled again. This time, it was softer, more deliberate. Each thud reverberated through the thin wood, sending vibrations up Sarah's spine. What did it want? Did it want them to leave their hiding place? Did it want them to show themselves? "Just play," the voice wheezed through the door, dripping with mock innocence. "It'll be fun." Jake's breath quickened beside her. "What does it want?" "I don't know," Sarah replied, though she could feel the rush of panic rising in her throat. "It wants us to play its game." Outside, the storm swelled, each flash of lightning illuminating the contours of the room. Shadows danced wildly, and for a heartbeat, Sarah caught a glimpse of something just beyond the door, a shape that didn't belong here, a figure too twisted to comprehend. "Stay down," she murmured, instinctively shielding Lily with her body. The air felt charged, crackling with an unseen energy. The growl deepened, becoming more than sound, a palpable force that pushed against the door. A sickening whimper erupted from the woman beside them, her sanity unraveling with each second that passed. "He won't stop until he gets you." "Shut up." Sarah spat, but as soon as the words left her lips, she regretted them. Silence settled like a lead weight, only to be shattered by a single, sharp snicker that echoed through the walls. "Who's playing now?" It sneered, brushing against Sarah's ear like a chilling breeze. Her skin prickled with terror, and she felt herself slip further into despair. As panic clawed at her throat, the doorknob twisted. A slow, deliberate creak came from the door as it opened just a crack, letting in a sliver of light. The neighbors' screams filled the air, a furious cry of desperation that shattered the quiet night. "Run!" Sarah shouted, heart racing, but there was nowhere to go. The closet was their haven, their prison. And then, it slipped through the Rain Man, a dark shadow with eyes swirling like tempests, filling their tiny sanctuary. His gaze locked onto Sarah, a knowing smile stretching across his lips. Let the game begin. Suddenly, the closet door swung open fully, and chaos erupted. What more horrors awaited Sarah and her family? What was he waiting for? The Rain Man loomed, his presence suffocating. Sarah's heart raced, each pulse loud enough to drown out the chaos surrounding them. The storm outside may have been relentless, but within the closet, it was the creature before them that brought the true tempest of fear. "Stay back," she managed to rasp, trying to muster any strength she could find. But it felt like shouting into a void. The shadows of the closet deepened, swirling between her family and the Rain Man. His smile was a sick twist, a mockery of the hope they clung to. Jake squeezed her hand harder. "What does he want?" His voice trembled. Sarah wanted to shield him, to tell him they'd find a way out. But answering felt impossible. Every instinct screamed that answering the Rain Man's riddle would only seal their fate. "Play with me." The Rain Man's voice dripped like the rain outside, smooth, taunting, hypnotic. "I've been waiting for so long." Sarah clamped her eyes shut, biting back tears. This couldn't be happening. This was a nightmare that would end with the dawn. They just had to survive a little longer. The laughter, rich and sinister, echoed in a loop, chilling her to the bone. "Tell us what to do." Lily whimpered, her small body not understanding the gravity of the situation. The Rain Man's eyes shifted to Lily, dark and swirling, as if absorbing her innocence. "Do you trust me?" "Lily, no." Sarah pleaded, but it was too late. The momentary flash of fear in her sister's eyes was replaced with a foolish glimmer of hope. The Rain Man leaned closer, and the scent of wet earth and decay filled the air. "Let us take turns, shall we?" He snapped his fingers, and the shadows flickered violently. Sarah felt it a pulse against her chest, as if the world outside was synchronized with the monster's twisted game. "What's your favorite memory, Sarah?" He whispered, the words curling around her mind, suffocating her resolve. "Stop it!" she shouted, shaking her head, trying to push away the dark web he was spinning. "You won't get into our heads." "Oh, but I already have," he crooned, his voice slinking through the narrow space like a snake. "Your fears. Your regrets. They bind you." A shudder coursed through her body. Were they his puppets now? Inside, a storm of anguish swirled, making her feel so small, so fragile beneath his gaze. The laughter intensified, bouncing off the closet walls, an echo of broken dreams. "Let us see how well you play," he said, his voice honeyed and sharp. "Jake? What do you fear most?" I'm not afraid of anything, Jake exclaimed, but Sarah can see the tremor in his hands. Of course you are, the Rain Man hissed. You, more than any your dad never came back, did he? That's a little secret you hold so close. No. Jake shouted, fighting back tears. The hollowness in his voice made Sarah's heart ache. This wasn't a game, it was torture. All secrets must come out, especially in storms, the Rain Man continued, the shadows around him vibrating with his excitement. The air felt electric, thick with dread. Suddenly, the neighbor woman burst into the room, her face twisted with terror. Don't engage with him. It's a trap. The Rain Man turned, a flash of irritation crossing his features. But they already have. In that moment, the door swung open wider, creaking ominously. The darkness behind it twisted with pale hands clawing at the frame, hungry for freedom. Run! Sarah gasped, gathering her family close, but the Rain Man was already moving, quick like a flash of lightning. Let the game begin, he whispered, and shadows exploded from his figure, wrapping around them like chains. With horror filling the closet, the storm raged on. As they struggled against the darkness, the Rain Man's laughter echoed louder, drowning out all thoughts of escape. Can you find the end of my game? What sinister revelation awaited Sarah? Would they uncover the Rain Man's true hunger before it consumed them all? The shadows sprang to life, enveloping Sarah and her family like thick fog rolling over a forgotten graveyard. She could feel the weight of the Rain Man's laughter, wrapping tighter around her chest, squeezing until breath became a chore. Let them play, Sarah, he whispered, his voice a sultry caress that made her skin crawl. Soon, they will understand. But Jake and Lily were trembling, their fear palpable. The neighbor woman stood by the door, her face a mask of desperation and fury. Don't listen to him, she cried. He feeds on fear. You can break free. Break free? The Rain Man chuckled, a low, dark sound that slithered into her ears. They're already trapped. Look around. The darkness is everywhere. You can't save them. Sarah's heart raced. She looked at Jake, whose eyes glistened with unshed tears, then at Lily, whose innocent gaze was fixed upon the creature. The shadows thickened, whispering twisted promises of safety, making her second-guess herself. No! She shouted, shaking her head to clear her thoughts. You're not real. You're just a reflection of what we fear. The Rain Man smiled, revealing jagged teeth that gleamed under the flickering light. Aren't we all? I'm here to remind you of that which you cannot escape. A game, after all, must have players. With a swift movement, he snapped his fingers, and the shadows lunged forward, dragging Sarah into their depths. Panic surged within her. She fought, clawing at the air, feeling the sharp edges of despair ripping at her flesh. The closet morphed in front of her eyes, wooden walls fading away, replaced by a landscape pulsing with horror and despair. The howling wind morphed into anguished cries, screams of those who had played this game before. In an instant, Sarah found herself standing in a vast field under a blood-red sky, rain pouring down as if the heavens were torn wide open. Shadows danced at the fringes, drawn to her like moths to a flame. What is this? She gasped, her voice lost in the cacophony of chaos. Your memories, sweet Sarah, the Rain Man's voice echoed all around her, echoing like a curse. Let us dig deeper. Images flashed around her father's smiling face, the warmth of his embrace, suddenly twisting into a grinning specter. Shadows shifted, revealing echoes of laughter that turned into screams. Dad, she whispered, her heart breaking. The past rushed over her like an avalanche, years of loss, untold grief. Suddenly, she turned to see Jake and Lily struggling against the darkness. It clawed at their limbs, eyes wide with terror. Sarah! Jake yelled, reaching out, but the shadows held him tight. No! She screamed, pain lacing her voice. Let them go. The Rain Man stepped closer, the wind swirling around him. You can stop this by playing the game, or you can watch them perish in fear. Lily cried out, her small figure trembling in the grasp of darkness. Help us, Sarah. We can't hold on much longer. The desperation in her sister's voice gripped Sarah's heart like a vice. What do I have to do? She shouted, realizing the Rain Man reveled in their suffering. Choose, he drawled, an air of wicked glee dancing in his eyes. One of them or your memories. Which will it be? Both choices terrified her. Uncertainty roiled in her stomach as she glanced between Jake and Lily's frightened faces. The storm raged above, promising destruction, as the Rain Man's laughter cascaded through the chaos like a funeral dirge. Choose wisely, for game pieces will only remain as long as you believe. After that his grin widened, eyes glinting with malice, they become part of the shadows. Abruptly, the rain transformed into a deluge, a curtain between her and the decision she had to face, drenching her with dread. What would she sacrifice to save them? And what if she made the wrong choice? Dark clouds loomed, thickening the air as Sarah's heart teetered on the brink. Would her choice unlock salvation or damn them all? The deluge soaked Sarah to her bones, each drop a reminder of the stakes hanging in the balance. Her chest tightened as she stood frozen in the merciless rain, the looming shadows threatening to swallow her whole. Jake's voice echoed in her mind, a lifeline despite the turmoil. Sarah, please. The terror in Lily's voice echoed like a death knell, urging her to act, to choose. But how could she? Memories danced in her mind, swirling with the terror surrounding her, each one shimmering with faded joy and grief. One or the other, the Rain Man purred, slinking closer, the edges of his silhouette blending seamlessly into the darkness. The twisted glee on his face sent shivers down her spine. What will it be? This isn't about what you want, it's what you fear the most. She felt the shadows quaking, hungry to envelop her family, craving their dread. Looking towards Jake, she glimpsed his resolve flicker like a dying candle. His brave facade shattered as another wave of darkness encroached, pulling him into its clenched embrace. No, no, no! Sarah cried, a surge of desperation igniting her limbs. She lunged forward, but the rain turned to knives, each drop a reminder of her failures, of the choices that brought her here. Stop. Just let go of him. I can't make this choice. I can't. Your sister or your father's smiling face, the Rain Man taunted, tilting his head. Which echoes through your nightmares? Which will you sacrifice? The wind began to howl, whipping at her like a mad beast. The screams intensified, morphing into laughter, her laughter contorted with anguish and grief. Memories danced in front of her, bright at first but fading, twisted until they reflected her darkest fears. Jake! Lily! She screamed again, desperate to break through the veil of darkness that imprisoned them. As if responding to her anguish, the ground trembled beneath her feet. She felt the weight of the rain, a burden more suffocating than before. Her heart raced. A flicker of resolve ignited within her. Enough! She spat, grounding herself in the chaos. You think you can tear us apart? I won't let you. A surge of emotion pushed against the cold grip of despair. Suddenly, a warmth filled her chest. It wasn't hope, but resolve, a fierce determination that perhaps shattered the darkness in her own way. Memories don't define me. I can recall, but this isn't a game I'll lose. The shadows recoiled, groaning under the weight of her courage. What? No. You cannot reject the game. The Rain Man screeched, the malice in his voice shimmering like electricity. The shadows shivered, and for a moment, the light flickered as the Rain Man struggled against her refusal to comply. But the clash only fueled his rage. Very well, he hissed, his voice now laced with seething fury. If it's a game you want, it shall be so. But all choices come with a price. Lily's frail figure began to dim, the shadows starting to merge around her. The Rain Man grinned, eyes narrowing like a serpent preparing to strike. Your choice is now rendered useless, your resolve is a laughable joke. Let her go, damn it. Sarah shouted, reaching for her sister. But just as she lunged, the ground beneath them erupted, and the scene shattered. Colors twisted and faded. The shadows screamed and howled, warping into grotesque forms, spewing terror. All of a sudden, the world around her fell apart, revealing a dark abyss, the void swallowing everything. Sarah! Came Jake's voice, echoing as it faded into silence. Panic surged in her heart. The Rain Man's laughter echoed, now hauntingly echoed through the abyss. Let us see how deep your sacrifices run. As the void pulled her in, she felt her thoughts fray, her heart racing. What had she just unleashed? And then blackness. Where was she now? What had she truly chosen? Was this the end? Or merely the beginning of a darker revelation? The darkness twisted and turned, wrapping around Sarah like a thick fog. For a moment, she lost herself in the emptiness, her heartbeat thrumming like the distant rumble of thunder against her ears. The Rain Man's voice echoed, mocking her choices as she teetered on the brink of despair. But just as hopelessness threatened to pull her deeper into the abyss, a flicker of light pierced through the shadows. Her heart seized at the sight. A memory, shining against the storm. It was her father, his warm smile glowing like sunshine, the kind filled with so much love it could light up the darkest of days. The image swelled within her, filling her with warmth and resolve, reminding her what she was fighting for. Jake. Lily. Stop. She commanded, her voice resolute. You don't control me or my memories. The shadows shivered, recoiling as if burned. The haunting laughter of the Rain Man faltered, replaced by a snarl. You cannot dismiss me so easily, child. But she was no longer a child. Not now. With every ounce of strength she could muster, Sarah clawed her way back to the light that guided her thoughts. I won't choose. I won't play your twisted games. The void thrashed, shadows trying to coil back around her, tightening as if in protest. Out of sheer instinct, she reached out, visualizing Jake and Lily, imagining her love wrapping around them like a protective shield. And suddenly, it crackled alive with energy. Warmth exploded outward, breaking the oppressive gloom. Sarah felt the air shift, the weight of fear that pressed against her chest exploding away like storm clouds parting for a brilliant dawn. Together, she shouted. We are stronger together. She felt their presence, a force that surged as she reached deep into herself, reclaiming those precious memories not as weights, but as sources of power. Images flooded her mind, their laughter, their cuddles, the sunset spent holding hands. Each moment of joy became a weapon against the encroaching darkness. Triggered by her courage, a blinding flash of light erupted, illuminating the entire realm. The shadows shrieked and dissolved, unraveling like a tapestry finally unspooled. The Rain Man's expression twisted from confidence to fury, and Sarah knew she had unleashed something powerful. No! You did this! He screamed, his figure wavering, losing form as the darkness began to collapse. This was never just your game, she declared, her voice steady and fierce. We're not afraid of losing our memories because we hold them dear. They're part of who we are. Without fear, you are nothing. As if responding to her declaration, the void shattered, each fragment releasing trapped spirits and memories, swirling upwards like leaves caught in a refreshing breeze. She glimpsed faces, lost souls freed from his reign, all rising into the light. Jake and Lily stood beside her, eyes alight with recognition. You did it, Mom! Jake exclaimed, pride bleeding through the fear still clinging to them. The Rain Man roared in outrage, a desperate last stand as the light poured forth, consuming him. You'll never be rid of me. I am in the storm. I am the fears you hold close. No! Sarah yelled. You are just a shadow. We can't be kept in darkness any longer. With one last surge of courage, the light expanded beyond her, enveloping everything, washing away the remnants of the Rain Man's influence, until only her family remained, their bond a beacon of hope standing against the storm. The tempest outside quieted, the thunder receding into the distance, leaving only the sound of rain gently tapping against the ground, a soothing lullaby washing away the scars of fear. They were finally free. As the light faded, Sarah found herself standing strong in her backyard, the storm clouds breaking apart to reveal a starry sky. She watched as Jake and Lily embraced her, their arms a comfort against the haunting memories. Relief flooded through her, every inch of her body finally at peace. No longer shackled to her fears, she lifted her gaze, a sense of renewal warming her heart. They could move forward together, stronger than before, embracing not just the memories but the life waiting for them beyond the storm. The Rain Man was no longer a threat, just a painful reminder that even in the darkest nights, light could always break through. "Let us go inside," Sarah said, squeezing her children close, holding them like they were the breath of fresh air she needed. As they walked back into their home, a sense of freedom washed over her. There would always be storms ahead, but they had a choice now, to face them together. And somewhere deep in the shadows, the Rain Man faded into oblivion, forever bound to the fears he thrived on, a memory lost in the fallen rain. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss chilling stories that will keep you up at night. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. I want to hear from you, so flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this intense ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything, so let us keep this chilling journey going together.